Hey kids, Pastor Chris here. Welcome to another episode of RMPC's Kids Question. Here's our question for this week. It says, I don't have a lot of money. Does that mean I give to others, or do they give to me? I'm just a kid. That is a great question. Let me answer that question by looking at two things that the Bible teaches us about giving, and then two implications for how we should live as a result. All right, two things the Bible teaches us about giving. Number one, giving is a command. Throughout the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, God commands his people to give. Now, here's my question for you. Why do you think that is? Why do you think God cares so much that his people be the kind of people who give? Here's why. Because giving gets to the very heart of who God is. At the very core of who he is, God is a giving God. Think about it. Everything God does, and he controls every detail in this world, in your life, everything he does is for your good. Think about Jesus' life. Jesus was in glory with the Father. He had everything he could ever want. He was perfectly satisfied. He didn't need anything. And he left all of that to come to this world where he was hurt, he suffered, he was hungry, he was poor. He left everything and came to this world where he had nothing, and he did it for us, to the point where he went to the cross and he died for us. At the very heart of who God is, he is a giving God. He is a God who puts the needs of others before what's easy or what seems easy or what might seem good to us. He's the kind of God who sacrifices out of love. And that's the kind of people he wants us to be too. He is a giving God, and so he wants us to be giving people. That's the first truth from the Bible. The second one is that giving is good for us. Jesus said, it is better to give than to receive. What a crazy thing to say. Why is that? Because that's not the message we hear from the world around us, especially now. It's almost Christmas. And what we are hearing around us is we should be able to have anything we want. It's the stuff we have that's going to make us happy. That's not what Jesus says. He says it's better to give than to receive. Here are 4 reasons why. Number 1, when we give, we keep our hearts and our minds fixed on heaven. When we give, we remember that this world is not all there is. The stuff we have will not exist forever, but we will live forever in eternity with God. And when we give, it keeps our hearts and our minds focused on that. That leads to the second reason. When we give, it protects us from storing up treasures here on earth. Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount, don't store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, where thieves break in and steal. Store up for yourself treasures in heaven, treasures that will last forever, treasures that will satisfy you like nothing in this world ever could. When we give, we protect ourselves from storing up treasures here on earth, so that we can store up treasures in heaven that will never fade away. That leads to number 3. It's better to give because it helps us to be content. In Hebrews, the writer of Hebrews says, keep your life free from the love of money and be content with what you have, because you have God, and he has said that he will never leave you or forsake you. Having a lot of stuff in this life will never make us content. It'll never make us satisfied, but we can be content in whatever circumstances we're in, because we have God, and we know that he will always give us what we need. And so we are free to give to those who are in need. And that leads to the fourth reason why it's better to give than to receive, because, like I said earlier, giving makes us more like Christ. It makes us more like Jesus. It makes us the kind of people who think first and foremost not about what do I want, what do I need, but who's around me and what do they need, and how can I help meet those needs. So it gets our focus off of ourselves onto others, and it makes us more like Christ. So 2 things the Bible teaches about giving. Now, 2 implications for how we should live. First, here's the reality. We don't always have money to give. Now, a lot of us do have money to give, and here's the truth. If we have so much money, or if we give so little that we really don't feel it, we really don't notice it, it really doesn't impact the way that we live, then we may need to search our hearts and ask if we could be giving more, because giving should be a sacrifice. We should feel it. Giving should be hard. So for some of us, we may need to think if we actually have more to give. But the reality is there are times in life where we actually don't have any money that we can give. And God knows that. And that's why he's given his church deacons. Because when we give to the church, that money goes to the deacons in part of that goes to the deacons so that they can take that money and help those in the church who are in need and who don't have enough to give. And so God has put those people in the church for that purpose, to be able to take care of those in need. And so God knows that we're not always going to be in the position where we can give money, and that's okay. He meets our needs in the midst of that. But here's the second implication. But even though we may not always have money to give, we may not always have treasures to give, we do always have time, and we always have talents. We may not be able to give money, but we can give of our time, and we can give of the gifts that God has given us to serve the church or to serve people in need. And so even if we don't have money, we can serve the church in a whole host of ways. We can serve other people as we see them in need. Maybe they just need someone to talk to and someone to listen to them. Maybe they need someone to help them on a particular project. There are so many ways that we can still give our time and our talents. So what do we do when we don't have a lot of money to give? That's okay, because we can still give our time and our talents. And we should always be trying to give in some way so that we can become more and more like Christ. I hope that answers your question, and I hope that's helpful for you. I cannot wait to see you guys next week for another episode of RMPC's Kids Questions.